Do you have a nemesis in your poker games? Someone who seems to be able to read your soul and exploit you left and right? Well, this is Sky with Smart Poker Study, and a listener, codenamed Dark Fox, recently sent this question in. There's this guy I play live poker with, my nemesis. He always seems to know exactly what I've got. He calls my bluffs, he folds to my value bets, and somehow reads me like a book. I hide in my hoodie every time I put in a big bet, but it doesn't matter. What is he doing that I can't? Now, this is a classic poker problem. We all come across these players occasionally, and they seem to be able to read our soul. Well, I'm going to show you exactly how he reads your soul, and I'm going to help you fight back against your nemesis. Now, to help you get the most from this episode and to actually take action and fight back, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod543. You can download my free 3-page PDF called the Nemesis Exploiter Worksheet, and I'll demonstrate it for you in just a little bit. Let's do it. Combate!
Jim is my enemy, but it turns out that Jim is also his own worst enemy. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Jim is actually my friend. But because he is his own worst enemy, the enemy of my friend is my enemy. So actually Jim is my enemy.
So let's talk about how your nemesis reads your soul. First, they are great at hand reading. Your nemesis is probably a winning tight aggressive or maybe a loose aggressive player. They understand pre-flop ranges, positions, bet sizes, post-flop texture, and, very importantly, your tendencies. They narrow your range through the streets with every bet sizing, your timing tells, maybe any kind of hesitation that you might have as well. And then by the river, their read on your likely hands leads to them making the right exploits more often than not. Now, the second way they read your soul is probably because you are giving it away for free. You're likely unconsciously revealing strength via your actions. Maybe you do like bet sizing tells. You bet smaller when bluffing and larger for value. Maybe you play with your chips when you're strong and you sit still when you're weak. You fidget around for you live players out there. Or if you're an online player, maybe you have timing tells. Your nemesis isn't psychic. That's critical to remember. They are using solid strategies based on your actions and your tendencies. So blame yourself for their soul read on you because you are signaling something. Your nemesis, they're just sharp enough to spot it. So here's how you're going to fight back. First, track nemesis exploited hands. So if you play online, very simple. Create a hand tag called Nemesis and tag every hand where you feel they exploited you with some kind of soul read. And if you're playing live, take notes on every hand detail you remember so that you can study it later on at home. Some key details to record. These are necessary to review every aspect of any given hand. You want to think about positions and stack sizes, all the actions made, pre-flop, flop, turn, and river, along with bet sizes, board cards and pot sizes, also when and how they exploited you. Some opponents are going to do it pre-flop, some of them are going to wait till the river, or maybe even on every street. Now, once you have hands to review, the second way that you're going to fight back is to analyze hands from their point of view. So look at each hand as if you are your nemesis. What does hero's actions look like to them? Remember, hero is you, you're looking at it from their POV. What hand strength signals is hero giving off? Did hero show easy to exploit patterns? And as the nemesis, would you have exploited hero in this way? The goal with this analysis from their point of view is to figure out what they see in you. Once you get it, you can start masking or even reversing those signals. So number 3 in fighting back is breaking the pattern. So after you figure out what you're doing that helps them exploit you, change it. You want to work to disguise your patterns against your nemesis and any other thinking players like them. And that's one of the great things about this work. When you analyze one nemesis and how they're exploiting you, you can utilize that information against similar players. And one thing you can do to break the pattern is to try signaling weakness when you're strong and strength when you're weak. So consider the other plays that you often make based on hand strength. Maybe, I have top set, but what would I do with just an ace over card? Or, I have absolutely nothing, but what would I do with top pair? So whatever you would do with the opposite strength hand, give that a shot. Try to fight back with that play. Also, You want to see their exploit coming before they make it and do something to reverse or stop them. And I'll give you an example of this in about 90 seconds or so. And the bottom line here is do not focus on what your nemesis is doing. Focus on what you are doing that allows them to exploit you. Now, when you encounter a nemesis who continually exploits you, do you fear your nemesis? The problem with this, or the reason why we're addressing it, is because fear amplifies your mistakes. Maybe they owned you early on in your relationship, and now you dread facing them. You remember the times they owned you, but you forget about all those wins. Now, this fear makes you fold too much, bet too cautiously, call too often, and maybe worst of all, tilt faster than you normally would. Now, the solution to fearing your nemesis: first, treat them like the strong, thinking player that they are and work to minimize how they can exploit you. You can do things like sit elsewhere if possible, maybe even switch tables. You can stick to strong hands, or even, if that anger is building, you're about to tilt, take a short break away from the table. Be more selective pre-flop when you enter a pot potentially against your nemesis, and this is so helpful, strive to play them in position. And most importantly, don't react emotionally. Stay balanced and intentional in your decisions. Now, to help you analyze your Nemesis-related hands, I created this free gift for you called the Nemesis Exploiter Worksheet. Get it by going to smartpokerstudy.com/pod543. Page 1 helps you get all the info that you need to analyze each hand. Page 2 gives you 15 questions to ask yourself to help you figure out what you're doing wrong and how your nemesis is using that against you. And then page 3 gives an example hand, and we're going to cover that example hand right now. Now, I want to show you the Nemesis Exploiter Worksheet with an example hand where my nemesis absolutely did exploit me. Now, page 1 of the worksheet, just some basic information about how to use the worksheet, and this outlines the kind of information that you need. And this is probably really helpful for live players. This is the stuff that you need to know, that you need to take note on in order to fully review a hand where you're up against your nemesis. Once you have and I'll show you an example of what this looks like filled out. Once you have the details or the hand open in your From Poker Tracker 4, on page 2, 15 different questions making you think about your nemesis, your own reads and reactions on his hand from their perspective. I'm not going to ask and answer all of these questions in this hand, but I did come to some conclusions based or with the help of those questions. So we could see the hand details filled out. We're going to go through the hand right now as well, but it's a 10 NL Ignition 6 Max cash game. My nemesis, as you can see, he's a tight, aggressive player, 17/13, so he only plays 17% of hands, and he raises 13% of the time. He's capable of 3-betting as well. Definitely a tight, aggressive player, and as you can see, he has position on me in this hand. Now, these are all the details. I'm not going to read this out for you, but this is what you're going to see as the hand progresses here. So let's take a look at it. We open in the MP with ace-10 suited, and my nemesis calls. Everyone else folds, so we are going to the flop. I'm going to be out of position as the pre-flop raiser. Flop comes 3-3-6. We have 2 overs plus a backdoor nut flush draw. We c-bet 1/3 pot. After you take out rake, it's exactly 1/3 pot. And he calls, drat, I wanted him to fold. Didn't fold. Turn comes a 6, 3-3-6-6. Darn it, it wasn't the 6 of clubs. I don't have a flush draw now. All I have is 2 overcards and a growing pot. Not a big pot, just it's growing, especially after I make this bet. Roughly 2/3 pot. After you take out rake, it might be closer to 70% pot. Darn it, he called again. 28 big blind pot, 5 hits on the river, absolutely missing my ace-10, and I decide to triple barrel 15 into 28. Now, this is slightly over 50% pot, maybe somewhere near 55% pot. And he ends up raising me, and I fold. And because this is Ignition Whole Cards Exposed database, I can see that he had the Jack-8 suited. Absolutely exploited me, stuck around flop and turn, raised river with a full-on bluff. So after asking and answering these questions up here, this is how my nemesis exploited me. From his view, my range and my line was very weak. Plus, look at that. I'm a loose, aggressive 41/31 player. I've 3-bet in the past, c-bet the flop 4 out of 4, turn only 1 out of 2. It's a short history, right? I only have 23 hands on the player right here. But I am, totally loose, aggressive, capable of bluffing multiple streets. And think about this, that 3-3-6, 6-5 board, my MP open raising range, full of broadways, ace, king, queen, jack, even 10 high overcard hands, completely whiffed on this board, right? So my tiny flop c-bet, in general, that signifies weakness. A player like me, if I had an overpair like tens or jacks, I'd be making it 5 big blinds easy. My 2/3 pot barrel, yes, that is a sign of strength right here, but he stuck around probably because he has position and probably because my range doesn't interact well with the 3-3-6. And then when I drop it down to somewhere near 50% from roughly 70%, wow, definitely smells like weakness. And that card didn't help my range either. And he absolutely used the range plus my betting pattern against me. So he pounced with that big river raise versus my weak barreling range. And of course, I ended up folding. Now, after reviewing this hand and seeing how he exploited me, I can easily make some adjustments. First, I know that players like this player in particular, it's ignition, so I'll never know if I face him again. But tight aggressive players like this, they can read my patterns. And I probably need to c-bet larger on the flop, repping that overpair hand, tens or jacks. But if I am going to use a bigger bet with a hand like ace-10 suited on the flop, I need to do so on boards with more equity, like a flush draw and or a straight draw, plus pair plus draws, or just great backdoor draws plus some kind of a pair. All I had was a great backdoor draw, and it was already a paired board. It's not a great card to be betting right here. And so for that reason, I put this lastly down here. When out of position, I can try playing straightforward and check all of my weakest hands and draws, which would have been an absolutely valid play right now. A strong player capable of exploiting me has position on me, and that board doesn't help me in any way. There's not a lot of turn cards I want to barrel other than ace of 10 or a club. I probably would have been better off just checking right here. Now here's something I alluded to earlier, and this is an adjustment. I need to mix in value hands with my bet small flop, larger bet on the turn sizing pattern. Because like I said, if I had tens or jacks or something even better, I'm definitely going 5, at a minimum 4 big blinds, a little bit over half pot, trying to get value on a player like this who has position. He might just call with a couple of overcards, and my pocket tens, jacks, queens, even aces are getting value right there. Now, I need to do this more often. I know this for myself, and I didn't even try it in this hand, but I should mix in some check-raise bluffs on flops and turns, along with delayed out-of-position c-bets. He just had a jack-8. There's a good chance he would have checked behind. And then, on that turn 6, I could have made that same size, 3/4 pot roughly, which would have been 5 big blinds, let's just say 5.5 big blinds or so. I could have made that on the turn. That turn didn't help him. He could have found a fold right there as well. So different ways to play the hand. Absolutely, I'm going to adjust with that, especially against those tight, aggressive players. And then look at this river. Okay, so he doesn't necessarily have to have a 6 or a 3 or even an overpair. He could be trying to get to the river to bluff me with jack high, queen high, king high, ace high hands, which I chop with my ace, right? It's a double paired board. My ace plays right now. I could have easily just checked, and when he made that same size bet, he might have attempted a bluff at 15 big blinds. I could have just check called and bluff caught this jack high hand. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration of the Nemesis Exploiter Worksheet. Let's get to your action step. First, like the video if you like the video, and drop a comment below and tell me about your poker nemesis. What do they do that drives you crazy, and how do you plan to fight back? And of course, subscribe for more videos like this. Now, if you have a nemesis at your table, someone who's constantly one step ahead, it is time for you to fight back. Download the Nemesis Exploiter Worksheet and analyze 5 hands this week. Uncover your patterns, figure out what Nemesis is doing to exploit you, and turn the tables on them. So don't just sit there getting soul read. Study, adjust, and strike back. Gambate!